listen to the show. But Evan, I think we got to first start off by talking about your background, where you're from. Obviously, you're a
Okay.
runner. So you're from Colorado. So have you lived here your whole life?
I have not. I was born in Arizona and I lived in Kansas for until I was 5, but I've been in Colorado since I was in kindergarten.
Okay, so you've been here for a long time. So how long have you been into running? When did you start running?
I actually only started running in my freshman year of high school.
So you started running
3 years about.
Yeah, so you've got really fast, obviously running with NIWA. So for a lot of people that probably don't know about NIWA, it's one of the best, I guess, high school programs around in the nation. One of, if you think of some of the top 10 or 15 programs, you'd probably put NIWA in that list. What has been your experience really on this NIWA cross country team?
Ooh, it's been a awesome 3 years so far. Well, my freshman year, we just had an outstanding upperclassmen. We had unreal talent. We had Zane Bergen, if you know who that is.
Yeah, I
He
know.
currently runs for Stanford and is like a 4 flat miler in high school.
Yeah, he's a fast guy.
We had some crazy, our freshman class was the best in the nation. And I was not a part of that. We had 10 boys running 16s, 17s. Gavin Integral ran a 15:54 his freshman year. I was nowhere in the picture. I was running 19s, 20s. I was not really in the conversation. But after that summer, I started taking it more seriously and actually dedicating myself to the sport. So I got about a 3.5 minute improvement in the 5K from my freshman to sophomore year. So that was good. I went from, I think, 20 to 16:35, and then this last year I cut off another minute and ran 15:42.
So definitely a lot of improvement within the program, but I mean, yes, you talked about that freshman class. I mean, you had, what you've got experience, the runners you got to run with. You talked about running with Zane Bergen, currently a grade below you. You have a guy in Rocco Culpepper, whose brother Cruz Culpepper. I believe. Did you get to run with him for 1 year, or maybe was he gone by the time you came in?
Cruz was gone. He did come back and run with us a few times.
Yeah, and then his dad, obviously, Alan Culpepper, one of the best runners around. I believe he's now the coach with Erie High School, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, Alan, great guy, ran 3:38 in the 1500, got down to a 3:55 mile. Just looking at some of the stats here, 2:09 marathon, a professional runner. So you get to run with a lot of cool people. You get to probably run with some future, possibly even some future Olympians. We'll talk about, on the girls' side, Addie Ritzenheim in a little bit. But I mean, there's a lot of really, really great talent when you talk about NIWA. But I think, for the people at home, they probably don't know, but kind of talk about NIWA's story about how they got to be this running dynasty.
Well, we have one of the best coaches in the nation in Kelly Christensen.
Gotta love Kelly.
Yep. We have just the girls kind of started just the dynasty of greatness, and now I think we're just known, this NIWA is known in Colorado for just being dominant in anything running, because we've just established a culture of success, and now people go there just for running specifically. They send their kids to NIWA because we're an open enrollment school. Anyone can go, so they just send their kids to NIWA primarily for running, and we get transfers because they just want to go to a school that has good runners.
And I mean, you look at this NIWA program, and as someone who, obviously my home school is NIWA, but I know a couple of our freshmen, for example, Noah Barrios. He was originally going to commit to Silver Creek, and I had him join Real Training last year. And I think that really persuaded him to realize, I want to go to the school that's the best school for me personally, with his academics and his athletic needs. And I think, when you look at that, that's really great. So let's look at some of these state championships here. Matt, if you would let me pull up that shared screen here. But talking about that history here with Coach Kelly here, looking at these state championships in the last couple of years here in Wikipedia. I mean, you got to start here by looking at these boys cross country titles. 3 titles in the last 5 years here, 2019, 2020, and 2023. I mean, the boys' titles, I mean, it might not be as many as the girls' titles. Looking at those girls' titles, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. That is definitely some sort of a dynasty there with girls and boys. And looking at that in 2018, Niwot was the runner-up for the Boco Preps .com cup, which is basically like, you know what the Boco Preps Cup is? It's like, yeah, it's like between all the high schools and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and then we'll talk about Addie Ritzenheim later in the show. But then looking at track, got them the boys their last title back in 21. Girls got a title this year, 21, 2019, 2015, 2014, and 2013. But I mean, this is just, and I mean, even these stats don't even show how amazing Niwot is at running. I feel like, when you look at these, there's been so many state runner-up titles that, Niwot has had between these years. And I mean, you just look at the success of what you talked about, what Coach Kelly did, in taking this program to a high level, because they had never won a cross country or track championship, it looks like, before Kelly, maybe girls before Kelly came in. What year did he?
No. That was his first year.
That was his first year, was 2013.
Yeah, he was at Palmer Ridge before that, and then in Thompson Valley.
So you look at it as, and when I like to compare Niwot a lot to like a Patriots type dynasty from the last 20 years. They're always going to consistently be there in the playoffs. You got, but instead of having that one player like Tom Brady, there's always a different Tom Brady that's going to cycle through. And it feeds into my next question. I mean, I don't know if you pay attention to a lot of the people that are coming up in this Niwot program, but I know that next year's freshman class is going to be loaded again. We have Jude Ritzenheim coming in. We have Braylon Brown. We have a lot of great runners coming in to this Niwot freshman for boys and girls. And I just think, like, with this cycle of success, do you ever see Niwot stopping this cycle of just bringing in these fast runners, training them, making them elite status, and then, they run off to college and then they bring them back, bring new ones in? Do you ever see this eventually stopping, or do you see it being a continuous cycle?
I mean, with the amount of talent we have, and I know for a fact we're going to do some insane things while I'm still here. And then when I graduate, we return almost everybody still. And we're going to have an insane class of 2026 and 2027 and 2028. I just don't know. I feel like we're going to amount to even more, and then more people are going to want to attend. So
it's a great cycle how Niwot can do that. And I think that's going to kind of feed in, like, talking about, let's kind of preview this year's boys season, and then we'll talk a little bit about the girls. But this year's boys team is returning every single varsity athlete. There was no varsity athlete last year that was a senior. It's one of the craziest facts you can hear. So this year, I believe that we got a lot of seniors, a lot of juniors in that varsity mix, maybe like a couple of sophomores, maybe one, maybe just Quinn around the varsity. Yeah, so in that category, looking at that, you really look at that varsity and you say, once those, 3 or 4 or 5 seniors leave this year that would be on varsity, then next year you got all of those juniors, you got all of those sophomores, us freshmen bringing up. It's looking very, very, very good. But let's talk a little bit about this season. What are you looking most forward to in this year's cross country season?
Well, I think we're looking good. Compared to the girls team, if you don't know what the stride report is, it's like a ranking thing. Stride report has preseason rankings. They put us number 1 in the nation. That's pretty cool. And I believe they put the girls not top 10. So it's looking promising on the boys' side.
Yeah, I know where that is. Stride report. Yeah, here it is, 2024. I'll pull that up here in a second. But I mean, I look at it and I tell myself, like, this could be a very, very, very special season for Niwot. We talked about that. Boys cross country, winning the state championship last year, but this year the big news, going up to 5A, yeah.
5A for cross
5A. So shouldn't really change too much about, just running against bigger schools, obviously. Do you see any challenges coming from racing in 5A now?
No. Last year, there's also this thing called the cross country power merge. For all divisions, it basically just takes them all and combines them, which is like 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A. So we won our respective 4A state title. I was a part of that team. I got 5th for Niwot in that race. We won the power merge, which is all divisions, by over 100 points. So, and there's not that much new up and coming talent from other schools. I don't see any other Colorado team as a threat.
And we'll get into the girls with that Air Academy rivalry, and I think that kind of does a little bit too with the boys. I know maybe not as much, but yeah, not as much.
Definitely not as much.
Definitely not as much as those girls. But definitely looking at the Southwest region this year, boys-wise, you see Niwot being that top team coming out in NXN, being the first Southwest team.
100%, yeah. I know Harriman does have some good runners, but they only have 3 returners from last year's NXN team. We have all 7, and we have more that could potentially mix it up.
Yeah, that is definitely a advantage this year. I mean, looking at last year's, we'll pull up the NXN results right now from last year. But definitely, you look at last year. And did you race at NXN last year? Didn't you?
I did not.
Oh, you didn't?
That's a long story. I can tell it if you want me to.
Yeah, tell us the story about while I pull it up.
Okay, so I had consistently raced myself into like our top 7. Like I was counted on. I was about our 5th man, like every race, without fail. And then near the end of the season, like after the state championships, I got sick. Like I got really sick. Took me out of running for I think 4 to 5 days. So I was like behind on some important training. And then we had 2 races. We had the 2 mile for real. You were probably at that. It's a fun race. It's just like a night 2 mile on the track. I had a horrible race there. Like that was a really bad race for me. And then after that, Kelly had a conversation with me and still trusted me to run the championship. Like I was one of the 7 that ran in the championship race at NXR, which is Nike Cross Regionals. That's how you qualify for NXN. And I had a great, like, do you know who Daniel Simmons is?
I think I've heard of Daniel Simmons, yeah.
He's very good runner. He won that race. He won the NXR race, ran 14:40. It's a fantastic time. He's crazy. I knew I might have gone out a little hard when I looked to my left after we crossed through the first mile, and I was looking at Daniel Simmons, and I was like, oh boy, I might have messed up here a little bit. And I faded really hard. I hit a wall. I was extremely lactic. I was dying. I just couldn't find another gear. And everyone, I was at that point, the only people ahead of me, the only person ahead of me on the team was Rocco, and every other person on our team caught and passed me. And I finished in a 16, like 15. And Gabe Marshall, who was a sophomore at the time, was racing in a lower race. It was like the Silver Boys race, large school or something. He ended up running a 15:45 and having a fantastic race. So it was a super tough call just because I had been beating Gabe like all season, but I was still sick. So I like had a conversation with coach. He told me that they were gonna go with Gabe instead, and I like understood that decision. Like I thought that was a fair decision. So I did not end up racing at NXN last year, but it's 100% my goal for this year to not get sick and have a good race consistently well throughout the season, and be at NXN.
And I mean, that story last year, I kind of think kind of motivates you now going into your senior year. This is like one last hurrah for you to get that NXN goal, to be there. Obviously,
Definitely.
I've seen you work this summer, and you're making your way definitely in probably the top 7, obviously. So being able this year to definitely run at NXN would be great. So let's go through here the Stride Report's top 5 Starting off with South Lake Carroll from Texas.
Very good team. They are
Going back to last
fantastic
year's
team.
NXN results, looks like they got third last year, so just 2 places ahead of Niwot. They're looking through their report, and then American Fort Caveman, that's from Utah. They got second last year at NXN for boys, so they're currently ranked fourth, and then third is Bellin Jesuit Wolverines from Florida. They placed, I don't think they placed in the top 10 even last year, maybe.
I don't think they were at NXN. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, so a surprise to see them, but their two reasons are that they have they have a really fast 5K team, averaging 15:30, so definitely they're in that top 6. But then I mean, I was reading the wrong one. That was yeah, okay. And then second is the winners from last year, the Herman Mustangs from Utah. They don't rebuild, they reload. You know,
Very true.
if you kind of describe Niwot, wouldn't you kind of say the same thing? They don't rebuild, they reload.
Well, they actually they graduated most of their best. We just have the potential to reload. Like we have such a deep roster that there's like we're replaceable. Like we have 16, 17 guys that could break 16 in the 5K. So I would say like we just have them on demand. If someone gets injured, if someone's hurt, sick, we can replace someone. Like we're that good. We have plenty of talent.
And then going to first, the Niwot Cougars, and I'm going to read through all of this paper, all the stuff they wrote here. So Niwot, on paper, the Niwot boys seem like a very overwhelming favorite for the 2024 title. Last year at NXN, they finished in an excellent 5th place overall and lost nobody. We talked about that earlier. In fact, the Cougars didn't lose any of their top 15 returners from 2023, giving them a huge advantage in terms of depth, experience, and presumably team culture. And I think I'm going to stop right there. I think that's definitely something that you see at practice is that team culture, that this team had ran varsity together, or the varsity boys are all returning, that they know what it's like. You know, you're probably going to a lot of the same races. You know, they know what it's like to be at these courses. They know what it's like to race in these environments.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
As a freshman, like coming into a program like that, is it a little intimidating, or do you think like
definitely, but I think, you know, I really kind of see how coach trusts the process, and kind of like what you're talking about with your story about how you came in as a freshman. Like, I want my goal to be by senior year to be on varsity. And like, that's my goal, is to like to get to run NXN by either junior or senior year. Is that my goal is to like, I want to trust the process, and I'm okay right now with being in the bottom 20s or 30s of the best boys runner. I want to, you know, work my way up to over time. Like, you know, right now I'm like 30th or whatever, and then like I move up by like sophomore, junior year into that 20-ish category, and then by getting to senior year, getting into that top 10, top 7. So I think it is a little bit intimidating. I mean, you look at all the state titles, all the stuff, but I mean, I'm really happy I got to do real training this summer, because I got to kind of get adjusted to a little bit of the intensity. So kind of yeah. So let's keep reading this here. So Niwot. Niwot is led by a dynamic duo of juniors, a dynamic duo of Rocco Culpepper and sophomore Quinn Sullivan, who both finished inside the top 40 at NXN, who both have run under 15:20 for in the 5K. Well, Culpepper and Sullivan are both primed to be great low stakes at this national meet. It is a crazy depth that earns Niwot our top spots in these rankings. The Cougars can feel they're whooping 10 athletes who can run 5:50, 15:50 or faster for the 5K. I think that's
more than that.
Crazy.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to start off here by saying, I mean, obviously right now the face and kind of what they said about Rocco and Quinn, but both of those guys are juniors and sophomores. We have 2 more years with Quinn Sullivan. I mean, 3 more actually, 3 more crosses seasons with Quinn Sullivan, and we have 2 more with Rocco Culpepper. So you talk about that reloading piece is definitely like, you know, our top 2 runners in cross are going to be returning in the next 2 years, and even in the next 3 years for Quinn. So that's definitely something that you got to look at. And then this last part, when you take a step back and look at Niwot, you see that they have everything they need for a national title: experience at the national meet, solid low stakes, and unparalleled depth. That is why Niwot is our preseason pick to win NXN come December. I totally agree with everything that they said here. Evan, do you have anything you want to comment on what they said on the Stride report? Anything you disagree with, or?
Well, maybe just to add that our like underclassmen, they're nowhere near, and upperclassmen. Well, I guess that class is juniors now, but they're nowhere near like the peak of their potential. They are just getting started. They're gonna get much better than like what they're talking about on paper is like what we accomplished last season. We've had a whole year of training in between now and then. I think it's just like people are going to be extremely surprised at how much we can do.
All right, so that is the stride report for boys. Now let's check out the stride report for girls high school here. If we just go to the high school section, we'll just quickly break that down there. If we go through teams 1 through 12 for the preseason rankings for the girls, I don't know if you read it yet. I'm not 100% sure where Niwot is ranked.
I don't know if we're on it, honestly.
So they would be in the bottom 12. You think so? Let's go back.
Let's look through it. I'm not entirely sure.
12 through 35 girls.
Did you check the whole thing? Were they?
Oh no, I have to check. I have to check the front. You're right. 1 through 12 girls. I'm surprised. I would think they would definitely put the girls in the top 5 because there it is, top 5. All right. So Niwot Cougars. Niwot Cougars have one thing going for them. They have the defending MXN individual champion Addie Ritzenheim, who we're going to get to in a quick second. She's a junior this year. She will surely give the Cougars a massive advantage over nearly every team on this list. However, what's holding Niwot back from being a podium favorite in our eyes is the lack of experience that many of their runners have. I'm just going to stop there, Evan. I know you're probably going to – do you kind of disagree? I mean, as someone who's around the program, when you look at this girls' team, is there that lack of experience?
They're not 100% wrong on like the national meet level. I believe only Anna and Addie are the only 2 girls that were at the national meet last year. And otherwise, I mean, we do have a solid list of returners, but none of them have competed at any of the like large scale intimidating races. So I guess I see what they're talking about, but I think we can beat them still.
Niwot lost their 2nd, 4th, and 6th runners last year. In the Jackson lineup, their podium that will make their podium defense an incredibly difficult task. Luckily, the Niwot Cougars seem to be encouraging flashes of athletes who have expected to score for them this fall. Avion, how do you say her name? Avalon.
Avi.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know who that is then. And Elise Hagan, is that how you say it? Who have ran 17:38 and 18:20. If any of them can close the gap between themselves and Ritzenheim, then Niwot starts looking more like a podium favorite rather than a podium contender. Now, here's the thing I look at this I say, okay, so they just brought up a bunch of runners, and Addie Ritzenheim is only a junior. Elise Hagan is a sophomore this year, and what is Avalon or whatever her name is?
She'll be a junior.
She'll be a junior. So they will all be returning next year too. So I think, honestly, if Niwot, say the girls get 4th or 3rd or something like that this year, I think they have a potential to definitely win next year, coming with a lot of the seniors next year. What do you think? Do you think 5th is a reasonable, or where would you rank them for this year?
I think I would agree with that ranking, but I think they'll surprise people. Like they'll move up. Just this is a good that's a good spot to be in preseason.
It definitely is. It's a good spot, especially how they have performed. That to have that ranking already kind of be a bit in with that ranking there. But I anything else you want to comment about that?
No.
So the next topic is the NXN champion on your team, a girl that was just at the Paris Olympics. Her dad is the running coach. One of your teammates. We talked about her. She is a junior, Addie Ritzenheim. We'll talk about the crazy NIL deal she got to sign as a sophomore. One of I've never heard of a sophomore girl in high school signing an NIL deal, but it's crazy. But talk about kind of what it's like to have someone like that on your team. That is a national champion. And obviously maybe being on the boys' side, like what does that really feel like for you?
Well, it's just been cool to like watch that and just a little scary, honestly. My sophomore year, I was getting beaten workouts by her still. she had a faster 5K than me for a while, for a solid bit. It was like, yikes, I'm getting beat, but then you can look at it and realize that she's the best in the nation. So makes you feel a
Yes,
little better.
we're definitely
But now,
racing someone that is the best girl in the nation. Hey Matt, can you? I have a video pulled. Thank you. So looking back at this
For this
NXN
last K.
from
Well, here come the
2023,
terraces that Rich Gonzalez talked about
honestly,
in that
like you talk
pre-race
about
report, and has been a
what she has
defining
accomplished as a
moment on this
teammate.
race course so many
And
years,
you know,
as
looking
it's
at
not
this race course
one that
here
you have to crest,
in
and
Arizona,
right after you
and not
crest
in
the
Arizona, excuse
first,
me, Oregon. Like
Portland, yeah.
yeah, what you know, obviously you'll get to run on this course, but it's been tend to known as kind of those hills towards the end, and especially that kind of last one. It's an interesting course to run at. And so I mean, obviously you're probably gonna get to run at this course this year, so it's kind of
I've been to it. It's an interesting course. It's super muddy. It's super like wet. It's rainy the whole time. It's a really difficult. Like if you've never run in the mud before, you're gonna have a really tough time at it. Is she's just a tough
Nike
runner.
Cross
So
Nationals
it
champion.
was
This
a really
is
good course
Addie
for her,
Ritzenheim.
and she made a move at the right time.
and especially beating I believe was it the Air Academy girl. What is her name that was in second?
Bethany.
Bethany, yeah. Who was a senior, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's
She's
cool.
committed to NC State.
Yeah, to be a underclassman, a sophomore, and to get to experience that. But then we go in to the NIL deal that she signed with On Running. We'll hear about that. That was pretty crazy because I mean, you know, I don't know when I've ever heard of a high school runner sign a NIL deal. I mean, it's very, 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 very unheard of.
There's
Obviously,
a lot of NILs, I feel like, but it's not for money. It's for like gear and it's nothing like her situation. She's On's first ever high school athlete, which is really cool.
it is really cool, especially as a sophomore. So this April, she signed a name, image, likeness deal with On. I believe, was it a 1-year contract? I don't know how long it was. Whatever
I don't
contract.
know either.
How long?
I'm not sure. I actually don't know that.
But she signed herself an NIL deal, which, you know, goes into my next question. Do you see any of the boys possibly signing NIL deals in the next couple of years? Maybe a NIL deal coming for Rocco Culpepper or Quinn Sullivan, any boy in that category? Do you see an NIL deal?
I know that they've gotten some like smaller level NIL deals that they've declined, like, but it's just like, you know, the company Koros that makes watches.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Koros.
Yeah. They've offered a couple of our boys like free watches and then NIL, but I don't know. You can only really commit to one company, so I don't know if they're like waiting for a specific company or something. But yeah, I could definitely see something like that happening.
And it's definitely something that could be in the future works, and especially now in the name, image, and likeness category that we have now. It started off with college, and everybody's like, whoa, like we have all this NIL now for college, and now it's hitting high school athletes. And I think that's really a piece of it, is that when now you're having high school athletes being affected, and especially I feel like, and that's the advantage with running is there's a lot of NIL opportunities that maybe high school basketball players wouldn't get, because honestly, if you're in high school basketball, the only companies that you could really, really sign with that would be like kind of big would be like Nike, maybe like, I don't know, like Adidas or like any like type of basketball company that you could think of. But with the amount of running companies that there are, running shoes that people wear in their average day in life, there are so many companies that you could sign an NIL deal with in high school. And then in college, athletes tend to sign more with local companies or local things like that, with their name, image, and likeness, and especially having jerseys getting sold. But definitely having that running shoe makes a huge advantage to the high school and college part of running, being able to sign a contract with running companies.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's a little bit. We got to talk a lot there about Niwot High School, and I definitely think, you know, going for predictions, I definitely think our boys can win nationals this year, and I think our girls could surprise and maybe even get top 3. Just like what do you think? Like go right now. What are your predictions?
Yeah, I think we win on the boys' side. I think we have a super tough team. A lot of a lot of room for replacement, like I kind of said. And we're just we all want it, definitely. Like because we surprised a lot of people. Um, we were the last team in last year for NXN, so we were the 24th ranked team, and we finished fifth. So we definitely shook that up, surprised people, and I think we're just gonna go straight to the top this year. And girls wise, I think our entire team is um, just gonna dig because they want to prove that ranking wrong, even though it's a good ranking, but they want better. So I know
All right.
they'll definitely want it also.
Yeah, we got some more time. Let's talk a little bit about your personal growth, your personal goals. Hey, Matt, can you pull up this here? Let's just look at some of your some of your stats on miles. But I know this might not have all of your races on it. But looking at,
I think it does.
yeah, it probably does. Let me make sure I'm signing. I don't have mile split plus, but it should tell me some of your. Yeah, right here. It should tell me some of your PRs. So looking at your indoor PR 444. I know you could probably run faster than that, but looking at that outdoor mile, looking at what one's the best one here? Like 421.
That should be my outdoor 16. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that 1500 to 406. That's speedy. So honestly, you think right now you could probably run a sub 4 1500?
Yes, for sure. That was me with that was a whole season of racing on my legs. But I would say my most impressive time on that is either my 32 or my 5K, just in terms of distance. My 921 2 mile, I ran that at the Colorado Track and Field State Championships. I got 7th in that race. I podiumed, got a medal. I actually have that medal with me right now. It's on my wall. Got that right here.
So a podium for you. So that's definitely strong being in your junior year and getting a podium. But then looking here at some cross country stuff, 5K 1542. That definitely is you're definitely going to run faster than that. So what's the goal for the 5K this year?
My goal for the 5K is break 15 minutes. It's a big barrier, and not a lot of high school boys do it. Like less than 200 a year, and I think our entire team is capable of doing it. Like all our top boys, I have faith that every single one of them can do that, and I think it's an attainable goal for us.
Sub 15, sub 450 pace definitely would be tough. I mean, you talked about it. You have a lot of boys on your team that you could. I mean, not so much naming names, but there's definitely, like you said, like 5, 6, 7 boys that could possibly be in that category with this team. And honestly, just like you talked about it, like at Niagara, it's not when you look at for example, like maybe with football is like. You come in and there's this super good freshman recruit whose dad played in the NFL, and he has a really good freshman year, but he never really gets so much better every single year. With Niagara, it's making a lot of giant leaps or a lot of big leaps throughout your years with the training. And I talk about it a lot about the way Coach Kelly coaches, and I know because of being a freshman that he likes to hold the freshmen back a lot, which really makes it so they can spring forward towards their sophomore and junior seasons and really take those big steps with the mileage. So talk about the mileage a little bit. Yeah, so I'm obviously never got to run how much mileage, but you guys run 7 days? Are you guys doing 7 days a week right now? Doubling some days?
Yeah, just doubling on Thursdays and Tuesdays. Just easy shakeouts. This week has been a super hard week, and my week is gonna be a little different than everyone else's because I have stuff going on Monday, and so do a few of the other guys. So we're gonna get our long run out of the way tomorrow. So we're gonna get to about 60 miles this week, which is a big number. I've never seen numbers like that. This is our highest mileage week of the year, so far. I've never gotten over 53, I think was my old highest. And we have a 90-minute run tomorrow. So I'm potentially getting to 58, 60 miles tomorrow, which is big. And I would say you're probably around what, 30, 35 miles?
Yeah, 30, 35. I think I just barely hit 30 this week. So definitely like at that freshman level, I feel like 30 is kind of starting to kind of get comfortable with me running 6 days a week on Sundays. So that's definitely getting comfortable. But it just feels like, especially getting a lot of sleep is the big part. We have practice at 7 a.m. Like I have to wake up at 6 a.m. I don't know what time you wake up at, but it's like you gotta get lots. You gotta get lots of good sleep because you got to wake up and you got to be able to hit, a workout, a practice, especially, having those workouts on Saturdays when, you've had a full week and it's like, well, if you're running 7 days a week, you have another day after that, but that's like the end of your week, and having to hit a hard workout with that amount of sleep, you got to really hit that sleep. And I definitely think
for sure.
So
nutrition.
Yeah, nutrition definitely a big part. So just a couple more questions, and then we'll talk. We'll switch the subject, talk some basketball, talk some NFL. But just a couple more questions here. Let's talk a little bit more about the team culture. You saw in the Stride report, they really talked about the boys' team culture, and I really want to just hit that because I feel like people underestimate team culture a lot. They think it's all about the stats, about the times, about the places, but the way that boys motivate each other is, do you feel like what's that advantage like to have that team culture?
We just have like it doesn't even matter the day. Like you have so many boys that are pushing you. There's always someone you can run with. There's always a way to be better. Like in the weight room, someone's gonna do the whole lift. On the track, someone's gonna push on the rep, and it just depends on like if you want to go with them. We have so many guys that can do the hard work and are willing to. So it's just a matter of like putting your head down, grinding, and it's nice to have a lot of people that care about it as much as you do. That's really what I like.
And I definitely think another piece of it, and as someone who's a freshman, is I really feel that motivation about that sticking part, because I feel like it's very hard right now, right? Because like if you're a freshman and you're trying to stick with the pack, of varsity boys, and if on a run, if you want to stick within a pack, it's hard because having that standards of pushing yourself from the middle school level going up into high school, it's definitely a big jump. But I really like the way that Coach Kelly definitely handles it over the summer. And that's why, like, the people that do summer real training definitely get a big advantage with how Coach slowly builds up the freshmen over the summer, and even most of the athletes. How, think back to the first week of summer training, how limited things are, how, easier things are, and how he kind of eases us into it, that your body gets adjusted as a freshman to running 30 miles a week after starting with running 15 to 20 miles a week.
Yeah, for sure. It's a long process, but once you get those miles on your legs, start feeling better, start running better, and then that leads to racing good.
Best team culture in the country, in your opinion? You think Niwot boys have the best high school team culture in running?
Yes, and I also think like our attitude towards like racing or like things that other teams like take seriously and are like that they're like in their heads, they're nervous about it. I think we're better than other teams at that as well. It's like a staple. You gotta like laugh and have fun. Like there's no serious environment. Like if you're in the tent before a race, no one's like it's not silent in there. We're all joking. We're all laughing. We're all hanging out. It's just a lot of friends that happen to be extremely good at running. So I think our attitude towards like pre-race and just not letting nerves get to you, just having a good time and having fun running, that's what sets us apart as well.
And I definitely think that's a big piece of it. Everybody knows about those pre-race jitters. You get nervous. You feel like you're going to throw up. You get that when you get to that starting line. And having those teammates that are there to support you and kind of get your mind off it. And definitely that piece of it, that Niwot, it's not a tight ship. It's not like a general sergeant yelling. It's not even that, obviously. And that's what I think people kind of forget, is that I honestly, you think a lot of times like, oh, the best programs in the country have to be running such a tight ship. But honestly, sometimes the best programs in the country are the one that let their athletes really, really, really enjoy what they're doing, that they want to come back to practice because not only I'm going to get better, but I get to see my friends, I get to socialize, I get to hang out, I get to do fun stuff, and I get to, like team dinners and stuff like that. That team culture, and that's really important in Iowa. And the home of the champions. It says it outside of the school. There's a reason why in Iowa it has all those 31 state championships between all the sports because of the team culture.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's talk some basketball. That was Evan. We'll have you stay on if you want, but we're going to talk some basketball.
I did watch that game. That was a great
We will
game.
crown a champion tonight. The
Good
host nation of
basketball game.
France
I haven't
are
actually
going to keep
jacked
these
the
fans
highlights.
energized
I know
throughout these
you
next
say
40 minutes, taking on the big bag.
So we
United
saw
States looking for
France,
gold medal.
and I believe Wemby probably played for France.
Wemby did. Got Rudy Gobert, Wemby. What else? For France.
Ooh, nice dunk there by LeBron to start the game. Love it. There's Wemby. I mean, we knew this game was going to be a fast, high-paced game. I mean, you got two teams, France, who has a lot of players that have played in the NBA before. A lot of different countries do. And look at Wemby. I mean, he's just so tall compared to a lot of these Team USA players. Ooh. So Team USA really having that early lead here. Just couple. It's a close one, though. And Wemby with a couple of dunks. Let's skip it forward a little bit because this highlight's about 7 minutes. Let's skip it to about like third-ish quarter, their second quarter. So, I mean, I love Team USA this year. I mean, all the Avenger jokes about how this is like the greatest team compared to some of those 90s and 2000 Team USA. What is your opinion on this year's Team USA obviously winning the gold?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good team. We got a solid roster. Got a lot of good. Obviously, it's full of NBA players. Not every country has that, but I thought the Serbia game, Serbia USA was more intense than the gold medal match, just because we were down like a lot more. But I definitely don't think it's the best U.S. basketball team ever. The '96 Dream Team can't really touch that. There's a lot.
But what was it? Is this 5 straight gold medals now? So 5 times 4.
Yeah.
The last 20 years. So 2004. That's crazy. I mean, do you see teams beating the USA in basketball in the next couple of Olympics?
Well, just because of you got NBA players spread out over different countries, and they can choose to play for their country instead of the U.S. So if you get enough NBA players on like a certain, I think Canada has 12. Germany had like 6. If you get enough, I think it could be possible to take the USA down. Yeah.
And so that was the end of the third. So we head into the fourth. Team USA obviously had a pretty comfortable lead throughout this game. But, I mean, I just love watching basketball, and it's great because when the Olympics are around, it feels like it kind of recovers for that normal sports summer where, like, once the NBA finals are done, then it's like, wait, what sports are there? And then it kind of gets like, But this has really helped with that Olympics. But on Tuesday when the show airs, the Olympics will be done. And I don't know who's in first. Is the USA in first overall?
Oh, yeah.
By a lot, probably.
I think China is the closest to us in gold medals, though. They have quite a few.
Yeah, it is definitely. It was a close game though. Got down to 3, but then Curry he was hitting, man.
This next 3 that they'll probably show, or the turnaround 3 with two people guarding him, that was an insane shot. Do not know how he hit that shot.
Yeah, USA has 122 medals compared to China's 90, so way ahead. USA kind of just pulls away there, and then
waiting for the shot where Curry hits the good night.
Man, Curry.
He was on fire for sure.
Oh man, I mean, if this tells you anything about what Steph. I mean,
This
we
one,
know he's.
right
Oh,
there. Bang. That was an incredible shot.
and he put him to bed there. Love that. Love that.
And because it's the Olympics, like it's European rules, so they can goaltend.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's why everybody was like jumping so high and like blocking all the shots.
Yeah, you saw a couple people get up over the rim, and if it bounced on the rim, knock it out of there.
Yeah, well, what a great game. And but we are out of time for the podcast. Quick one. We only do about 45-minute shows because we'll have some sponsors. But I'm gonna head out. And it was great to see you though, Evan. Thanks for talking some Niwot sports. And if you want to listen to this show, it will be live on, I believe, Tuesday. I'll text you. Make sure. Just go to the FLAH radio. You can just search it up on like Live 365, which is just like a radio station where you can listen. Just look up FLAH radio. I believe it comes on at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. I'm going to just make sure of it, but it will definitely be fun. A lot of people listen to the shows. So it's fun to have you, though, Evan. And I'm going to see you on Tuesday at freshman orientation. Mac, you got anything else?
Oh, man, that was a great show, Evan. It was fun to hear your story, man. Good luck in your senior year.
Yeah, good luck. Hey, Sco Cougars gonna win the national championship. That's gonna do it. Mac, I'm gonna head out. I guess Evan, if you're gonna head out, I'll see you all in the next one. And thanks so much.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye.
All right, guys, y'all have a good one.
You too.
All right, guys. With that being said, you know what time it is once again on the FLH radio. I'm Mac Dubs. That was Landon on Coming Off the Bench podcast. Have a good night and hit the music one last time.